In the past 15 years, I would say I've talked to over 400 Native women who've been raped. Sexual assault is so common in some tribal communities that you will hear women say, I don't know anyone in my community who has not been a victim. It's not a matter of if you're raped, it's a matter of when.
We talk about the so-called date rape drugs, but by far the number one drug that's used to facilitate assaults is alcohol.
We typically only think of females, being the victims of alcohol-facilitated sexual assaults. But many men fall to that same pattern of victimization, especially with alcohol. Alcohol is used by most sex offenders for two main reasons. One, it's readily available, and two, it's socially acceptable.
Domestic violence, sexual assault, those were not traditional to our nations. You can point to numerous different factors, colonization, the boarding school era, all of these historical traumas that have happened to our nations and that have shaped our evolution to where we are today.
A lot of my friends, family members have endured some kind of trauma, whether it was domestic violence, sexual assault, substance abuse, even mental health conditions. It was a very hush-hush issue, and it wasn't talked about.
We do have to acknowledge all of those historical traumas to figure out how to address them and then move forward in a positive direction.
One of the biggest myths is that when alcohol is involved in sexual assault, it's a spontaneous event. But I think in reality, we see cases where there's definitely some planning involved. They know that, for instance, this particular young woman has some challenges. Perhaps she's been abused as a child. Perhaps she has struggled herself with substance abuse, or comes from a home where alcohol is used frequently, and they target her.
That intoxication not only allows the offender to take advantage and make that victim more vulnerable, but it also gives them a smoke screen. Well, I was drinking too. We were both drunk. It was just drunk sex.
The most important service that can be provided to a victim who was assaulted while intoxicated is confidential advocacy. You can go talk to somebody and get information and get support without the fear that everybody in the community will hear your story. Having that service available allows the victim to consider all their options. And one of those options is to report the crime.
Prosecution is a vital component. It gives the victim some sense of justice, that they were believed, they were listened to, and they were important.
That's the number one thing, is I believe you in what you're saying and not judge them right off in the beginning, because that's what happens in a lot of times, with people.
Okay, ladies, introduction.
When Native women are in a place where they can talk about sexual assault, and somebody says, "What happened to you? How did that happen?" And you'll see the response is, "Well, which time?"
In the Native American community, in our spirit, we want to be whole. We want to walk in balance. We have to help make that individual whole and hold the perpetrator accountable.
For me, when I interview a victim, I want to give them space. I want to be able to let them know that it's okay not to, to relive everything at the moment. And I'd want the victim to know that we support them and we have services for them.
Sometimes our victims don't feel comfortable, so I'll go see the victim, and then I'll meet with the family also if they're there. If they don't know me, all I have to say is, I'm Angie, I'm the Weha. And I'll tell them, my parents, this is my mom, this is my dad, or this is my grandma, my grandpa, and that I'm here, I work at the court, and then they'll say, oh, okay, well, come in.
I am the sexual assault nurse examiner coordinator for Norton Sound Health Corporation in Nome. When a patient comes in, I usually have a patient advocate come in who hooks them up with the right resources, whether they need a shelter, clothes, food, any counseling, and usually I give them a medical forensic exam and prophylactically treat them for pregnancy and STIs.
Crimes such as these, they're pretty traumatic, and they don't just affect the victim, they affect everybody. It affects the tribe, the extended families of the individuals involved. It hurts a lot of people because the community is so small and close-knit that the families know each other.
It's really important that tribal leaders express the philosophy that this kind of behavior, this sexually exploitive behavior, is not keeping with tribal tradition. It's not acceptable under tribal law. And we have a policy of believing survivors and supporting survivors. And that message coming from the top, I think, is critical.
I want the word to get out that, hey, we're serious. We're going to do something. We want this to end.